What happens when a Volkswagen T-Roc and a Golf R have, let's say, emotional contact? Well, the VW T-Roc R, this performance version of the compact SUV, and here on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars. With Thomas, we're going to take you on a tour of the exterior, the interior, and also the technology details, and also the sound. In full HD, full screen, and full length. Let's go. The T-Roc R features a unique front grille in a comp style here. Also LED headlamps are standard equipment, and the LED daytime running light, which in a normal T-Roc is a circle right here, is also a little bit different, together with this Golf R inspired lower contrasting area with bigger air intakes. And this color here is the exclusive Volkswagen R color called Lapis Blue or Lapis Blue. Well, they didn't want to call it Thomas Blue, but it surely comes close to my favorite color. 4.23 meters, 13'9", or 166 inches is the length of the T-Roc. It's also the same, of course, in the T-Roc R. You've got some sporty styling elements like the R badge here, then the contrasting mirror caps as well as chrome frames around the upper part of the window. Again, you can see that this lapis blue color has different blue nuances, very beautiful. The wheels you can either get in 18-inch as standard. Those ones here are the optional 19-inch in dark matte. The 18-inch would be black on the outer parts and like more shiny silver part on the top part. They are also available then for the Golf R, for example. Very interesting that you also get bigger brakes, 17-inch discs right there. And also a very nice detail, look at that, here a metal knurling around the pin of the air intake here. Really nice detail and adds to a quality feeling. However, what is interesting to me is that they kept this crossover look here with the plastic wheel arches. I do prefer that because when I go for an SUV, I rather want to keep the SUV look. Some other sporty lines, they always paint it in vehicle color. What do you think about it? The rest is basically standard T-Roc design with a design line right here above the door handle. And again, Golf style inspired, a very strong C shape. This one, of course, also on the MQB platform that is being used all over the place in the Volkswagen AG. But usually you also get a lot of technology features then when they share the same platform. Next to some other standard colors, which are not exclusive, you can also get a contrasting black roof. This one here is just in the same vehicle color, but if you like, you can add some more contrast then with this upper part all in black. The rear has a modern light signature, and the R version also features the sporty badge, as well as a contrasting lower bumper. You can see here this diffuser style. The exhaust, it already is basically a sporty exhaust, but then the one you see here is the optional Akrapovic exhaust. Yeah, for the Golf R, it's almost 4,000 euros extra, so really expensive. Of course, you get more sound. You've already listened to the prototype vehicle we filmed earlier outside to the sound of the T-Roc R. So yes, if you want more sound, you can go for it, but you really have to think about if you want to invest that, that extra price. We'll soon talk also about the total price of this car, which will also be very interesting. The biggest extra price you pay is for this engine. It's a 2-liter TSI turbo petrol engine. And so far the 2-liter TSI was also available, but not in this horsepower spec. This one in here with 300 horsepower, 400 Newton meters of torque, and the expected acceleration figure is 4.9 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. Together with an all-wheel drive, so it's front plus rear on demand, but of course with so much power, basically on the front axle, the rear axle will somehow always be participating in this acceleration process, because it also makes sense and if you have so much power right there. The acceleration figure comes close to a Golf R. The question is, why is it somehow different? Because the cars are somewhat similar. This one, of course, sits a little bit higher. Weight distribution is maybe a little bit different. Those are, probably factors that play a role in that case. Well, what do you think about putting the R engine here in the T-Roc? The T-Roc R comes with a stiffer and sportier sports suspension. It's a little bit lower, and combined also with this driving mode selector, you can fine-tune, for example, the throttle input and so on. However, it's not adaptive. Optional, you can then get the DCC, that is then the adaptive suspension, also with a sportier trim. The car key has a small R badge right there. Of course, there's also keyless entry available. You can close the car when you put your hand on there and open the car when you put your hand inside, if you went for that option. Then, inside of the doors, this is something a lot of people had wished that they used then soft touch material here in the R version, which is way more expensive. But here also in this R version of the T-Roc, you get the hard plastic at the inside of the doors. However, what you get extra is this matte blue insert here. It's also a nice color contrast. Then you have some leatherette armrest and reasonable space also at the inside of the doors, because it's supposed to be also a practical performance SUV. Then this interior has a unique steering wheel with flat bottom taken from the Golf R, also with white contrast stitches on the inside. Then you can see at the dashboard area there's also again this blue beauty inserts together with a digital cockpit. Soon more details to that. And those unique seats, specially designed for the T-Roc R. You can see they have fabric on the main seating area, have enough room, but then have more shoulder support, for example, together with Alcantara inserts. And they also visually seem to have an integrated head restraint, but that's just when it's in the lowest position. You can also put them up if you're a little bit taller. Then you can see that they are still somewhat separated. Like this, there you can see it. There we go. But still in a very nice design. And I'll also test the seat quite soon and tell you more about the comfort. Here we go. Of course, the side area is a little bit stiffer when getting in and out. Some leatherette applications on the outside. And it's actually very comfortable. The difference to the Golf is that you sit a little bit more upright in the T-Roc. That would be, the main argument for going for a T-Roc R instead of a Golf R. There's more upright SUV seating position. And I think the seats are a good mixture of comfort and sport. And since it's a fabric surface, you also stay cool in summer and it's not that cold in winter. So I think well done visually wise and also comfort wise. The steering wheel here can be adjusted like this, in and out and up and down. So also tall people can find a good seating position. When I put the seat all the way down, me with 1.86 m or 6'1", that leaves plenty of headroom. So that would maybe be another argument if you're a little bit taller, since the SUV is also not equipped with a very low roofline. You have more headroom here on the inside than, for example, with the Golf. This is the interior overview. There again you can see this matte blue style. There you can also hear that it is a matte material, and I think it's actually welcome to me as an difference to all of the high glossy black stuff. We can still find it here though. Then again, a look at this steering wheel and all digital clusters right there, left and right. The base infotainment system for a T-Roc would be 6.5. This one is the optional 8-inch screen, but it still features those knobs for volume and also for zooming in the map. I really like that because it's easier to use while driving the vehicle. Other than that, it also reacts to touch and is very responsive. And it's actually quite easy to use. You can always add your phone via Bluetooth or also with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, so quite intuitive to use. The only thing that is a little bit lacking as for the processor speed is you can only have the map on one screen, so you can change that you have the map in the digital instruments, but then you don't have it on the other screen anymore. That should be a little bit better, I think. The digital instruments are very clear to read, and the advantage is that you're flexible. You can have a map view in there, a little bit bigger. Use the view here, then you can have the map all over the place. That is then better in your field of view as a driver. Or you can also have some audio or telephone information in there, or some consumption figures and so on. Consumption should be around, if you take it slowly, 7 liters, 1 kilometers, or the 34 mpg US or 41 mpg UK. That's from the Golf R. It should be quite the same, but only if you take it slow. Of course, you want to drive the car something a little bit faster, and then consumption goes up. You can see we have the base climate unit here. Of course, there's also the automatic AC available, where you then see the temperature right there in a small display when you change it. But also when you go for it like this, it works quite well. Then in the lower part, 2 USB ports, also enough room for your smartphone to put it in right there. And this car is always combined with a 7-speed wet clutch DSG. This is the driving mode selector, for example, for snowy conditions, that you have some more power on the rear axle, for example, and throttle input reduction, or for off-roading, that the ESC is drawn back a little bit, that you have a little bit more wheel spin. And then you can also go in the so-called race mode. And the race mode then trims everything to sportiness. For example, also the shifting, that the gears are turned up later or also shifted down earlier, and so on. Then there are non-adaptive cup holders. This is a little bit a pity. I'm not sure if maybe some beverages will then fly all over the vehicle. This one is here for the key, electric handbrake. And then again, very well processed is this leatherette cover here also for the armrest. And this is super well attached. You cannot shake it at all. And then there's some more space inside. As for the rear seats, you can see they have the same sporty design. They're basically formed like 2 single seats. It has a registration also for the 3rd seat there in the middle, but you can see it's way higher and also stiffer on that leatherette. And there's also this middle tunnel. Then for the all-wheel drive, you can see it down there, together with another 12-volt power supply. So it's not that comfortable to sit in the middle then. However, the outside seats offer you both, again, comfort and sportiness. You can see it does fit exactly for 4 tall adults. So it comes quite close, but it exactly fits basically. Also with the headroom. Got some more headroom left right there. And then there's a armrest here with some cup holders for the kids. You can at the same time use it as a ski hatch. Also ISOFIX at the 2 outside seats each for applying the child seats. And then you can already flip the seats from here in a 1/3, 2/3 split, or then using the ski hatch. But I would say we'll take a look at that also from the trunk. Overall, it's actually also quite comfortable to sit here in the rear. Now what about the hatch? There is also an electric tailgate available. This very vehicle is not equipped with that yet, but you can see up there is also a blind button where it would be applied. So it's an option you can go for. We already had a T-Roc with the electric tailgate. Then you got quite some square dimensions. You can just see, due to the sporty design here of the rear window, you lose a little bit of height in the rear. Below here you can also fit a replacement tire, and what's also handy that you can fix that one up right there. And what about the standard measures? So this one here is 78 centimeters in length. It should be about a meter in width. Yeah, again, approximately a meter in width. And at the very rear part here, it's just about 30 centimeters in height. And then here under the cover, it's about 40 centimeters. But of course, you could also remove this cover right there. Last but not least, yes, it has 300 horsepower. It is actually quite fast. 300 horsepower, by the way, not 310. Same goes for the Golf R, because those new WLTP driving cycles, they made those requirements to put the horsepower a little bit down again for those performance engines. So here we go, flipping the seats. The question is here also, can we do anything with the front seat? No, it has this turning wheel, so we cannot flip the co-driver seat all the way to the front. And this way here to the co-driver seat. Let's take a look at that. Yeah. Last one right here. So when also a tall person is driving, is about 1.55 meters. And I think you can very well live with that. So you can still use this basically as a family vehicle, if your family is still maybe young and small, or just if you want, this SUV feeling, but don't need a big performance car. Well, one last aspect, because coming soon to our conclusion, the door closing sounds here everywhere. This is something they've really figured out, and also when this tactile feeling of the door handles, that gives you really a quality impression. So, and now to our final conclusion for today with the T-Roc R. First of all, such a beautiful color. I would take it directly in this very color, of course. From the interior blue, I found it great that it is matte and not like this, shiny glossy stuff as always. But then again, it would even be better when it would match the exterior color here. But then again, it's really hard to have a matte color matching a metallic color. Yeah, so pros and cons about that. The interior, well, there has those two downsides, that the dashboard and the inside of the doors is hard packed plastic. It should be, for the price of the vehicle, I think a little bit better, like in the Golf, for example. Then again, everything else is very well done. Also really lovely seats with a good compromise of sportiness and comfort. Again, you have a little bit more higher seating position than in the Golf R. That would be speaking for that. And of course, if you just want this SUV touch. The T-Roc in general, if you think about the SUV lineup from Volkswagen, we had this big comparison test, and we found that this one here was the SUV that was most fun to drive from their SUV lineup. So it's really promising, and also what Benny Leuchter told us at the racetrack with the prototype vehicle, that it really comes very close to a Golf R as for driving that one. Well, price-wise, we can expect something 40,000 euros as for a German price. It's supposed to be a little bit less expensive than the Golf R. Well, a usual T-Roc you can also boost up to, way above 30,000. So there's, of course, still some more extra price for this performance engine then. For a compact SUV is expensive, yes. But then if you compare it also to other, performance cars, then it's not that expensive anymore. Yeah, you have to make up your mind about that yourself. So what do you think here about the new Volkswagen T-Roc R? I think a very interesting approach. Why not putting it with the SUV, combining somehow performance and comfort? I think it will work quite well, and of course, even better when we can drive this car very soon. We will keep you updated with this. Thank you so much for tuning in.